This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1929, King, Art, Dawn, Trek 52!
Going to happen after the Super Bowl. Do you have any predictions? Do you have any plans? Do you have any?
Well, let's see. Plans to watch the game. Just at home in the comfort of my room here. Gosh, I don't know. Everything this is like so cliche. Don't bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, which I concur with. I just don't see the 49ers winning. Of course, anything can happen, but I just think the Chiefs are just all that right now, unfortunately.
Okay.
They're America's team now, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Whoever wins, America wins.
Yes. But yeah, with that old geek speak, Chad, I heard the last episode Brian went to the emergency room because he couldn't fart after a colonoscopy. I was dying.
These are the things people have to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know.
I actually have a little thing, if I may, but old geek speak. If this gets a little off topic, obviously shut it down. So as I've gotten older, and by the way, are you 50 yet?
Shh. Let's not talk about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to think, because I know Brian's turning 50 this year, which is probably why he's in Sweden right now. But anyway, as I get older, one of the things I've seen other people do is they just have like a litany of pills they have to take every day. I don't want to be that guy. So like about a year ago, I had a physical and my blood pressure was high and they wanted to put me on medication. It's like, please, no medication. So they gave me some suggestions how to change things and went back in 4 months and I got it under control and my blood work is fine and my cholesterol is fine. I was like, hallelujah, no medication. Woohoo. Then I had recently a follow up with my urologist because the kidney stones and so forth. And this is kind of, if you've known me at all, and even on the podcast, you see me leave the room sometimes to go to the bathroom. I had an overactive bladder. I had to go all the time. When I got up, before I left the house, when I got to where I was going, I had to know where the bathrooms are. It was just a pain. It was years and years and years. Never thought anything about it. So he goes, hey, you want to try some medication? I'm like, sure. So I tried it, and the damn thing almost worked instantly. It has cut down my frequency. I'm a new man. I'm not going to get through this episode at all. I'm so excited.
Well, this is a treat for all those people who've been around since 2005. They get to hear our ailments and our slow decline into the grave.
God, I hope not. I got things. I got all these books I got to read, all these TV shows I got to watch.
Let's start the pool now. Who's going next?
No.
It is interesting to know. I mean, you know how some people, they get on their little like, oh, why do you just talk about comics? It's like, have you
Really?
listened to the show? Have you listened to the show since day one? Episode 1. But now we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff today. So
certainly,
like a lot of the original podcasts who were the hosts were friends first. Most of the times when we talk, this is the first time we're talking since the last time we talked, on an episode.
Right.
So it's like, we like catching up and it's a little bit of therapy for us. And
I don't talk to anybody.
We're all spread, we're not as close physically as we used to be.
But you're actually closer than you used to be, actually.
I am, sure.
You are.
Yeah. Now Kevin is the most. He's
right.
furthest
Well,
away.
Brian's in Sweden right now, as we just
Well, that's true. Whenever I'm sure we have some Swedish listeners, right? Somewhere along the way, we must have.
I Gotta believe we do.
Yeah, so go track him down. He was walking through the snow the other day, so
Yes, and
look
I
look for his
commented on
footprints.
I commented on his post. I mean, I don't like going outdoors at all, but the way he posted what he was doing, like taking a walk in the snow, like I think to like the my geography is bad, like the
Mm-hmm.
Baltic
Mm-hmm.
Sea,
Mm-hmm.
and then back. It's like
Eight
that sounds
mile
and
round
looks
trip.
beautiful. 4 miles round trip. I said that looks beautiful.
No, he
So
said eight. He said eight on his
no,
thing.
he said four. Do I have to
No.
look it up here on the old?
Yes. You want to bet? You want a Super Bowl bet?
Uh, Let me see here. Oh my God, you're right. He did an 8 mile round trip hike. I apologize to you. I'm not usually that guy who calls people out, but you were right and I was wrong. I'll
See?
shut up now. I'll shut up now. See, you wonder why I
Steel
keep my
trap.
mouth shut so much because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Steel trap. Meanwhile, I have no idea what an 8 mile round trip is. That 4 miles each way? 8 miles each way? It's got to be 4 miles each way.
4 miles
Okay.
each way. I know there is math in this episode, yeah. But yeah, sometimes when I get behind a mic, I just don't. My mind shuts off. So
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Yeah. Well, kudos to him for doing it.
Well, yeah.
We always say we're going to do things. Well, you've been away. Let's transition. You've been traveling. Where have you been traveling?
Well, literally, as we record this, I just came back from beautiful Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. That's not why you called, actually. No, I was out there for work, and it was supposed to be for 3 days. It ended up only being 2 days. That's why I'm doing this here tonight. And actually, where I was working, there was a comic shop like about a half a mile up the road, and I forget the name of it actually. I mean, by Comics World, something like that. And I went over there after work on Tuesday before 5 o'clock, and it was closed. But the
Oh,
sign on the door said like hours to like 6 on a Tuesday. I'm like, what? So, and I would have gone today, but I kind of wanted to get home. So I did try to, but no, actually, I'm actually going on a trip next week. I'm actually going, actually, as this episode airs, I'm probably already in Los Angeles, or maybe remember me going to come back. I'm going out for the Doctor Who Gallifrey 1 convention in Los Angeles over President's Day weekend, which I go every year. It's wonderful.
mm-hmm.
But I was recently down in outside of Baltimore the weekend of the divisional playoffs in football when the Baltimore Ravens were having a home game against Houston that afternoon. I was down in the morning to oh my God, I'm getting comics, cards, and collectibles. Comic shop just outside of Baltimore, run by Mark Nathan, who runs Baltimore Comic Con. I'm on their mailing list and got an email that Tom King was doing an in-store signing on that Saturday from noon to 3 to promote his Animal Pound book from Boom Studios, of course, which I have a copy right here of number
Mm-hmm.
one, because they had a exclusive variant cover at the store. And I said, oh, well, that's nice, Tom King. But then they also mentioned half off back issues. I'm like, uh-oh, road trip. And it was the Saturday after we had a nice sized snowstorm up here in the Northeast, couple inches, maybe like 4 or 5 inches, and it's like I had cabin fever already, so I actually made the road trip down there. So I like to see Tom, and the ad said, "Hey, you can spend more time than you would with at a con with him." It's like, great, we'll have a little chat, and there was probably about 20 people there
Oh,
to
wow.
see him. Well, when I got there, well, actually, no, I was there about 11:15 because I wanted to do shopping first and go through the back issues, and I found a couple issues that I was having trouble finding some recent things, well, not so recent, Superman, Batman issues from like the original one, 2000s that for some reason I missed. And I was looking, and I had my list, and I typed up a couple of things I want to look for at cons, and I wrote down JSA number 50.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it there half off, like 250, whatever. Oh, great. I got home. Actually, what I needed was Justice Society of America 50. It's like,
Gotta be
so
careful.
even writing a list, I still buy things that I already have. But so and the beautiful store. My first time down there, they actually, I believe, relatively recent. This location where they were down further because huge store. great selection of back issues. Oh my God, I found so many things I would have loved to have bought if I had more time and money.
Hmm.
But there was, a lot of boxes around the Diamond Box, so they were still in the process of, I guess, unpacking things. But really nice, clean store. I could have like spent a lot more money if I wasn't trying to have some self control. But I saw Tom there, and he was pleasant as always, saying to everybody, "Hey, I'm Tom. How are you?" And how he always does. So I caught up with him for a little bit, and I had him do a. I guess, hey, are you doing any sketching? Because you know how he does those stick figure sketches.
Sure.
So I had a Batwoman Zero blank cover comic from like her second series or whatever. So I had him, and I showed him a reference picture. If he would draw an homage to Detective Comics 233, the first appearance of Batwoman. And he did while we were talking, and he said, "Oh my God, this is terrible. I gave Batwoman a beard." And it was, so it was a hoot and a half, and it was nice to get out of the house, nice to go to a really nice comic store, and nice to see Tom and get a nice little sketch. So yeah, that was
Mhm.
my recent venture out of the house to go to a con, and I have a con I might go to later on this summer. I'm waiting to hear from a possible roommate, which would help with the costs. Uh, but
You
you
don't
you
want
you don't go to haven't been to a con recently, have you, Peter, at all?
No, I haven't been. I don't even remember
Yeah.
the last convention. It has to be. Whew, I really don't remember. I don't. Maybe a New York Comic Con. Maybe I might have gone into like a Philly con, but um, I it's definitely pre-pandemic, but several years before that. So
Right.
you don't want to say what the summer one is that you're going to?
Well, sure. It's a terrific con up in Connecticut. It's a great con. I've been there once before. It's really got a lot of great comic guests, both old and new, and they put on some of the best comic book panels. When I was there, they had a Death of Superman panel with a Jerry Ordway was there. I believe Dan Jurgens, Mike Carlin. I think Louise Simonson was even on the panel. Um, they also had a panel with Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway talking about the Invaders and the All-Star Squadron. I'm like, oh, that was like literally one of the best panels I have ever been to. And it was great artists, great shopping, and it's right next to a casino. And they had a poker night, and I won the poker contest. So I'd love to go back there again. But I think I actually, no, I did. I drove to that con. It was probably 4.5, 5 hours,
Right.
but it was really worth it.
Are we
And
are we far enough away time wise for the statute of limitations for like those poker games you used to go to at where was it, Wizard World Chicago
I
or
don't know what you're
something?
talking about. You mean the Jim Lee game in San Diego?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, they were fine. I went to one of those. Oh, there was a Pittsburgh Comic Con game up at the
Hmm.
top of the hotel, but no, I went to one of the ones with Jim Lee, and I actually sat next to Adam Hughes, and I actually lasted longer than Jim Lee did because I think he was at my table, but I didn't do very well overall.
How big were
Did,
those hands? Like, were those hands? Was the buy-in big, or was the
I
pot?
don't remember. It's somewhere in my emails or my yeah, in my
Are they throwing out like original art and
no, no,
Adam
no.
Hughes does a sketch and he's like, "That's $500 right there."
I believe it was a structured tournament, which is what I really like. You have a time structure, a buy-in structure, number of chips, the blinds increase at certain increments. It's all timed out. That's, I believe, how that was there.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting if you get a bunch of artists. Like instead of chips, they do like a 2 minute sketch and a 10 minute sketch and a
It's like
50 minute
it's like,
sketch.
oh, I raised you this original art of Catwoman licking
Yeah.
milk out of a bowl or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I sent Pants a link to a convention down in Florida.
You did?
Yeah, the inaugural
Oh,
Original
yes, you
Arts
did.
Expo
Yes.
happened at the end of January. I thought this was just Really kind of cool. It's all original art dealers and artists, and some of the sponsors are like Heritage and Comic Link, Comic Connect, Dynamite. But the whole purpose is, as it says, Original Arts Expo, to showcase original comic illustration and other narrative art with the aim to immediately establish itself as the premier visual storytelling art event in the United States. OAX, celebrating all of their artists and art collectors. Um, they had guests such as Mike Allred, Laura Allred, Adam Kubert was there, Bob Layton, Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti, Simone Bianchi. I think I saw a video with him. George Pratt, Adam Hughes, like you mentioned, Kevin Nolan, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I mean, they just had, and then newer people like Nick Dragata and Nick Pitara. Clay Mann was there. But then a ton of those art dealers were there, people that you, I'm sure, are very familiar with.
Yes.
So, have you heard anything else about that show?
Not a whole lot. I am on the art forums, and there was a lot of people asking about things. Especially there was an original art auction that was held there. They did some pieces for the auction, and Mike Allred did this beautiful piece of Silver Surfer with Dawn from his run on Silver Surfer. Anyway, it was a huge color canvas. It was gorgeous. I think it went for $7,000.
Wow.
And the actual gentleman, Bill Cox, who ran the convention, who runs Comic Art Fans. If I know, and I should have verified, but I'm pretty sure if I look on the forums, he actually wasn't the winner of it, but he asked the winner to buy if he could buy it because that art was used for the badges of the convention. But that was a beautiful piece. I've been to smaller art cons in New Jersey at a hotel outside of Giant Stadium where they'll have a lot of the art dealers there and maybe one or two artists. But this was a different ball of wax. They limited the tickets to, I believe, 500.
Wow.
And I believe they sold about 470, if I read that correctly. So you had a lot of access to the artists. They were taking pre-commissions at the convention. I know Adam Hughes was doing commissions for, middle four figures. There were a lot of other people taking pre-commissions. They had some things that were done at the con. Of course, you have all the art collectors meeting each other in person for a lot of the first times, buying things from the dealers, trading amongst themselves,
That's
picking things up.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounded like a fantastic time. And actually, I believe the way they timed it, if you decided to stay in Florida, the week after that was MegaCon in Florida. So
Right.
they had a really good idea for a con, and it sounds like it was a rousing success. I do know someone who was there, but I haven't heard back from him on his experience. But I said, hey, can you see if they have this, this, and this? And he said, no, they don't have that, and that. So, I tried to find some picture myself, but art is getting a little bit out of my a reach right now. But it sounds like it was a fantastic idea. And who doesn't want to get out of the Northeast in January down to Orlando? I mean,
Yeah.
sounds like they had a really good idea and it went over really well.
Plus, you have to imagine if they are limiting those tickets that way, it probably wouldn't be unheard of for them to charge more because you want a certain clientele there. You want people
True.
who are actually going to. It's like what Sal says about the Alex Ross stuff. If you're just looking to get $25, $60 sketches, you can flip through the Alex Ross stuff, but you're not going to seriously buy any of that stuff. So
Right.
it feels like down there you're there for the artists, that's great. But I would hope they also want to make sure that the art dealers themselves are also going to hopefully, if not make money, at least make connections for
Sure.
other things down the road. So,
Yeah. I know they did have some VIP tickets where I believe you can get some more intimate meet and greet with some of the artists. So it looks like they really did the research and put on a really good con. And of course, I'm deeply jealous, but I would have gone there just to, if I would have gone, it would have been just to like walk around and just drool because I'm not sure I can compete fiscally with what's out there just from reading the posts, whatever. But still, kudos to them. Looking
There,
forward. Looks like it's going to happen next year as well.
there you go. One day was 110, weekend was 175. If you were a couple, it was 225, and the weekend VIP was 300, or a couple for 450.
Right.
So
So yeah, you're right. You don't want just like guys like me coming in and just like, do you have anything under $100? You want to just know who's coming there.
Wait, come on. This will be a segue for your other topic, but you just walk in with your 52 collection, be like, "Excuse me, you know who I am. Do you see what's in this portfolio?"
Stop. Oh, so yeah, speaking of 52, can we segue into that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've actually, courtesy of some posts, I believe, by Eric of the Longbox podcast. Do I have that correct?
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He mentioned on
Longbox review.
Longbox review. I'm sorry, Longbox review. Like I said, I speak wrong when I'm behind the microphone. I should get my facts straight. See, when I was doing the show, I would edit all my stuff out because I made so many mistakes, and you never heard them. But now you're editing, and you keep them all in. Shakes fist. Anyway, yes, there's a podcast called 52 Pickup that he mentioned. It's by Gita Jackson and Alex Jaffe, where they talk about, wait for it, 52 the comic. They mentioned how they sort of got into comics around the time of 52, and they really enjoyed and locked on, and it's like their favorite series. It's like, oh, mine too. And they go in depth into like every issue. They do one issue an episode. Well, we did it back in the day. Back in the day, when the books were coming out, even before I came on the show, you guys were doing monthly specials. You would go over each issues, like 4 or 5 issues per month, and talk about that.
That
And
was before you joined?
yeah, you started that, of course. Well, the first issue came out in May of 2006. So
that's right.
You did June. I didn't come into the show till like September, October of 2006. I came in about halfway through the series. So I've listened to a few of I've listened to them all actually when you guys were talking about it, and you actually had caught a few things very early on, Peter. I believe you talked about Mr. Mind transferring into a butterfly very early on. I'll just leave that at that. But I really enjoy the podcast. They do go off on some tangents, but they are extremely good together. They've got great chemistry, and they know their crap. And I feel so inadequate with the episodes because they know so much more than I do. They can talk about it better. They actually have quite a backlog. As we record this, they released at the end of January, week 6. They recorded week 6 sometime back in October or November of last year. So they've got quite a backlog already.
Right.
So kudos to them. Really exciting. And some of the stuff they were talking about in this last one, week 6, they were conjecturing, as we did at the time, who was writing what parts of the comic.
Yeah, right.
And do you remember the website 52thecomic.com?
No. That wasn't through. Was it through DC?
Yes. It was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
That was the site where they had weekly teases, little downloads.
Right.
They also had the big thing was that they had the Keith Giffen breakdowns for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, that site is no longer up. I mean, it's up, but it directs you back to DC's main site. If you use the Internet Wayback Machine, you can find some things archived from the 52thecomic.com, but it's sort of scattered about. And of course, as you know, I mentioned before that I actually have the Keith Giffen breakdowns. I own them,
right,
with the exception of 1 or 2 issues here and there. And I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but this is actually also off of the internet. There was an article written by David Ousman. I forget what website it was on, but it's called Secrets of the 52 Breakdowns, where and this is like right after the series ended, I'm going to quote from the first 2 paragraphs here. He goes, "I've been hiding this in my back pocket for a while, since I didn't want to jinx DC putting up more of Keith Giffen's breakdowns. One of the most hotly debated topics in the creation of 52 was very simple. Who wrote what? The writers in DC have been very cagey about providing answers, but it turns out they were there all along. He continues on. So I've been looking at Keith Giffen's breakdowns on the website, and I noticed that different scenes have different font and numbering styles on the cues. In other words, who's speaking in the panel that he puts down for reference, everybody. There'll be like 13 booster as opposed to just booster in a different font in different scenes. So he took a look at it. He goes, so I took a look at it, and it seemed kind of obvious that the different writers use different cues. And he mentions them for each one for Jeff Johns, Greg Rucka, Grant Morrison, and Mark Waid. And he broke down through that who wrote what. And I have the breakdowns, and I've looked through them too. And he makes a great case. And the rest of the article is a breakdown by page of every issue of who wrote what. And I'm thinking, that's fantastic. But that's also gone from the internet right now, because in the latest episode talking about week 6, there was a long scene with the Great 10 that was broken up by 2 pages with Will Magnus and T.O. Morrow, then went back to the Great 10. Well, on the podcast, it was pretty clear to them that Morrison wrote the 2 pages with with the Magnus and Tomorrow. But they had thought that Morrison also wrote the first part of the Great 10 and John wrote the second part. Well, if you look at the breakdowns, it's speculated, and I think pretty likely that Johns wrote all the Great 10 stuff. So I thought, well, that's kind of interesting that they're speculating about this, and I would have sent them an email about it, but they're so far ahead right now when they're recording, I don't know when they would get it. But I thought that was really cool, and I don't know if you ever knew that. Did you know about that, Peter, that article?
No, I don't think I ever came across that.
Right, so much of this stuff is like gone from the internet like that.
Yeah, plus, I mean, because it was such a round robin kind of thing, even if they did write specific passages, they still were in communication about.
Oh, sure.
Because like the Great 10 is a Morrison concept, even if he didn't necessarily write those specific chapters. But
right.
I feel like the story is the sort of higher concept of like who wrote the story. All of them did. Who wrote the specific scenes, that's where you get into the nitty gritty of who actually penned and dialogued, and how much did Keith Giffen's breakdowns feed into any of that, So yeah, that was always the fun of it, and you should still reach out to them because you have a wealth of information that they could do like a every 2 months return to pants, and they can just list a whole bunch of questions they want to ask you.
Well, I did email them once because after I listened to the first 5 episodes, I sent an email because in the very first episode, they both raved about how they loved this one page in the first issue. It's towards the end. It's a 9-panel grid with in Gotham City, where the question takes down the bat from the bat signal and spray paints a question on it and shines a light at Montoya's apartment. And he goes, "I can see you." And they raved about how they loved that page. And it's like, here's the original art for that page. I sent back and they go, "Oh my God."
Did they respond?
Well, they did say, "Hey, thank you for listening to that. I would, if he's, I think, let me find a response here." Let's see.
What you need to do is you go, again, just like that original art convention. You just need to open your email with, "Do you know who I am?"
Well, I'm not like that. He goes, Alex goes, "Oh, damn. Consider me extremely jealous. If I could own one piece of original comic artwork, it would probably be that. Thank you for listening." And again, I didn't mean it to show like I thought, hey, they might enjoy that.
Well, but again, if they're doing, who knows the ins and outs of the original art and could probably answer some questions.
Well, it's a funny thing you mentioned because I do when I saw the podcast, heard it, said, well, now I got to go read 52 again. So I'm sort of reading along as they're releasing the episodes. And I'm also going back through my original art and the breakdowns of 52
Right.
and my notes because there are some differences all the way through that even don't make to the publishing. And I tried years ago to get a copy of someone's script or
Mm.
scripts 52. I won't. Oh yeah, well, give me your email, and he never responds. So that's fine. I know they're busy, but so I'll give you just a couple of quick examples
Okay.
from the first issue. The what was original. The first two pages were actually added on as an afterthought. So the original first page was going to be was showing Ralph in three panels in front of his house. In the original published art, you see the very first panel is him holding a gun that says Anselmo Case 1995. That's the published artwork.
Mm-hmm.
In the original artwork, there's no tag that says Anselmo Case. Okay. But on Keith Giffen's breakdown, the very first panel is Ralph, instead of holding a gun, he's holding a photo cube. And we see three sides of it, and it's just written what there are. Picture of Sue, a picture of the wedding photo, and the JLA group shot. So that gun was added, I don't know, sometime after the breakdowns before it got published because he's not holding the gun until you see him later put the gun in his mouth. So I thought that was interesting. So that's just one of the differences. And there's even an odd difference later. Remember how early on, Kate Kane is, I mean, not Kate Kane, Renee Montoya is doing a stakeout.
Mm-hmm.
And the address she's staking out is 520 Kane Street. In the breakdowns here, it's 808 something or the other. It's like, what? What? It's 808. It's 808 Kane Street. It's like, what's that got to do with anything? So I get just little things. So I love going back and exploring the differences from like breakdowns to original art to publication. Because I mean, I got to listen so many differences, and that's just the art that I'm aware of,
Right.
that I've seen.
Right.
I mean, there is some other things online as well that I don't own the art for that I've seen because they actually mentioned in one of the, I guess in the second issue. Again, forgive me if I ramble on, but I'm talking about 52. They mentioned on their podcast when in the second issue when the question breaks in to Montoya's house when Montoya is in bed with another woman. In the original art, they're wearing bra and panties.
Oh, right.
And question picks up another someone else's panties, and they're both like, wait a minute. So so in the original art, they were not clothed in the so I thought that was kind of interesting. So they picked up on that. It's like, wait a minute, that seems sort of odd. So there's all kinds of different. There's even, I'll do this one more time. In issue 3,
mm-hmm.
when the two guys from Intergang, I think Noose and Roughhouse, are presenting Black Adam with a gift of a slave who turns out then again to turn into ISIS. On panel, you see Black Adam put his hand as to crush Noose, and off panel you see a blood squirt. On one of the panels, which was not published, you actually also see him decapitate Roughhouse. You don't see that in the comic. It's just a stat of another close-up of Black Adam. So that violence was cut out. So it's like, it's kind of cool. I have that original, so I know it was supposed to be. So I love that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, but it's a shame that the breakdowns are missing from the internet, right? You can't really find them. And actually, when I was going back and doing some research, I found a forum somewhere where somebody was asking, hey, does anybody have good copies of a couple of breakdowns? I want to do an article. And it's like, this is like from 2020. It's like, oh, geez. I wish I would have saw this a few years earlier, buddy. But
yeah, because you could take pictures and put them back.
Well, I mean, I have them all scanned.
Oh, right. I mean, well,
Or well,
like
not all of them. I have most of them scanned.
how many times have I been saying, you need a pants gallery, a floating pants gallery. You could have had a panel down at that original Art Expo about
Nobody
your.
cares. They're talking
Oh,
about
yes,
Kirby
they do.
artwork, and they're talking about the
Yes, they do.
Gisema artwork and
Somebody
good
who
stuff like that.
has, that big of a portion plus the breakdowns are more valuable now that Keith is gone.
I'm trying to keep a low profile. But then why are you talking about it on the podcast? Because
Yeah,
I have
right.
nothing else to talk about. Because no
I
one
mean,
listens.
that's a series that I've always wanted to revisit, not only in reading but in podcast form too, because like as you said, we did it by the month.
Right, right, right.
So, and we were pretty detailed, but there still was a lot of stuff that we didn't get to.
Oh, sure.
And you know, what a just one of a kind concept that just never was duplicated. Was attempted. People attempted to duplicate it, but you know, both DC and Marvel just could never do that again, to that degree. But that was an amazing series.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the people who were the dealers and the things that were the OAX. Comic Link was also there, the auction site where they auction off original artwork as well as comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned before that I dropped off some books at the New York Comic Con to put up for auction for them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to, if you don't mind, just sort of talk about that briefly because I got my results back.
Okay.
So I somehow had a duplicate copy of the 1967 Superman 199, the first Superman Flash race. It was looked in decent shape. And then I also had the first Batman Beyond miniseries was 6 issues. I only got the first two. So it's like try to finish it up. So I said, hey, let me just put those up for auction. That's his first appearance. Could go for a little bit of money. And Comic Link will take 10% off of the auction results, but also with the comics, they'll grade them for you, have them graded for you by CGC, and you get a 15% off discount. Now it comes out of the cost. So they went up for auction in January, and let's see, the Superman 199, I got a CGC grade of 7.0.
Mm-hmm.
It finished at $278. For the Batman Beyonds 1 and 2, each one ended up at a CGC 9.6. Issue number 2 only went for $12. Oh well. But the issue 1 went for $325. So do the math, that was a little over $600 with the 10% and the fees. I'll probably get close to $500 back. Hey, great, fantastic. You're just sitting down in my living room for years. I got $500 out of that. And that's all I have 3 comics.
Right.
But again, those are 3 more or less key-ish comics. But I'm just so damn lazy. Peter,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Three key comics out of a collection that has many keys in it.
Yes, but I'm just so damn lazy. I still have really not progressed much in my organizing since then. I'm sorry to say it's very disappointing.
You need to hire an intern. Maybe like go around to like.
No, I need to.
No, this is what you do. You find.
Okay, here we go. What am I do? What am I gonna do?
You channel Barbara
Wait,
Gordon.
where am I gonna get the money for this? Am I gonna do a GoFundMe?
No, it's an internship. That's what.
Oh, an internship. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Feed them some food.
I don't give out college credits.
You need to like go the Barbara Gordon route. You need to find a college that has like a library science course, and you can say, "Hey, somebody wants hands-on, experience on cataloging comics. Like, here we go. I got
There
you.
will be heavy lifting involved. Wear a pair of gloves and a mask for the dust.
As we found out and argued, there's a science to it. There is actually a science to it. So
there is. But yeah, again, I'm just too damn lazy. But as I was going through forgive me, I'm just rambling because I actually have notes here, Peter. I took notes because, like I said, I forget when I get behind the microphone. So I have notes here, as I'm sure you have notes as well. But I was using the Overstreet guide to sort of guide, no pun intended, how things were put in order in my organization, in my comics, which I did stray from a little bit. But I pulled out a couple of trivia questions I'd like to ask you from that, if you don't mind. I'm only going to do
from the guide or from?
from the guide.
Oh no.
Well, they involve comics and they involve DC comics, so it might be something you can answer. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, but if it's like first appearances, I hate them.
Well, it's kind of like that with a twist.
Okay.
A little bit of twist. Okay. Can you name for me, or what was the first DC dollar comic?
Ooh, no. Do you have a year?
It was cover dated November 1977.
Well, it's later than I thought. I will say it's an issue of Adventure Comics.
The interesting thing, it does actually have two titles. There's a title on the cover and a different title in the indicia.
Oh, geez.
Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
It is Superman Spectacular, also known as DC Special Series number 5.
Okay.
It has a cover featuring Luthor and Brainiac shaking hands over Superman lying on the ground. A new super-length thrilling thriller starring the world's greatest superhero. 80 pages, all new dollar comics. That was the first DC dollar comic.
That feels late, right? Doesn't 1977 feel late? Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. And so I don't do it again. One more question like this. Do you know what was DC's first direct market only title?
Does that go to Camelot 3000?
No. And again, this is all
Wait.
according to
Okay.
Overstreet.
Wait.
Would like a cover date.
Sure. Or a year. Just a year. Or
1980.
And it wasn't Camelot 3000. Okay. Let me think. Direct
Certainly.
market. And that seems early, actually. It's probably going to be some random thing. Oh,
It is.
wait. Is it the Madame Xanadu one shot?
No, it is not.
Damn. I give up.
It is Superboy Spectacular number 1.
Really?
Cover dated January of 1980. Yes, this is DC's first direct market only title. It's pretty much just a reprint of old Superboys, but it was the first one that was only available to the direct market. There's no barcode on it at all on the front. Not even like a barcode box. And on the back is a nice one of those pinups of Superboy and his friends and family.
Very interesting. All
And
right.
I actually have, for when there's more of us around, I'd love to try that. I have a question from Overstreet. That's one of these where, name all of the comics that have this criteria.
Oh, interesting.
I've got 48 answers for that. So we'll have to do a round robin at some point. I think it would be fun. I'll just leave it at that.
It's interesting to note that in this discussion of which comics are more valuable than other ones, and I'm sure the same thing with either through Overstreet or through some of the slabbing companies, that it is now in the interest to try to get titles that had newsstand barcodes over the DC Comics or Marvel direct market symbol, Superman, Spider-Man slogan.
Yes.
Because the thinking is, even though they were more produced for the newsstand, they are for some reason considered a little more rare because of quality and how many have survived. And that just blows my mind.
Right. I did see that. And I'm also wondering, this is just me wondering out loud. I believe that if a title on the newsstand didn't sell, you could just rip the cover off,
Sure.
send that back to get credit for it. So I'm not sure how many I mean, this is also going back way, but so how many like survived? But yeah, you're right. There's also you remember with the Whitman variants of DC
Mm-hmm.
Comics.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I hate those
I have a few of
because
those.
you can't tell from the cover what issue it is necessarily.
Right.
Um, I've seen. I'm not sure if this is both with DC and Marvel, but the oh God, I want to say the Jewelers edition where there's like an insert in the middle of the comic of jewelry you can buy. I guess that those issues were sent to like military bases, so there's variants of that are somewhat desirable. That's a whole
Right.
sub genre. I don't collect slabbed comics at all. I have a, only a few, and just because it's easier to sell them that way.
Right. But I
But
just
yeah,
think it's so interesting because, like, I know as a kid, once I got into buying at comic stores, I wanted the non-barcode version
oh
because
sure, me too.
they were cooler, right? Like,
Yeah, they had things on it like the new DC Watch Us Now or something like that. Like who
yeah,
watches the Watchmen, things like that
yeah.
on the
Or
those.
look for the Legion poster, or
Yeah, just cool stuff like that.
yeah, I really I love and to think that I hope that retailers aren't like, oh, here's the news now. The newsstand is like, I'm going to charge $1 more because it's rare. Really? Oh, come on. I mean, if there's enough collectors out there, I mean, they were printing them in so much higher quantity than what went to the direct market. That,
Yeah,
eh,
because the direct market you had to order pretty much
yeah,
what knew you were going to sell, in theory.
right, right. So it's to the point where like sometimes I'm not I don't always do this, but if I find issues that I already have, but that they are the direct market version, I'll buy it even if I don't know what I have at home because then it's like, oh, I do have the direct market version. Yay, I like that. I want that.
Yeah, because a majority of my collection from like the 90s onward is direct market because I bought them at Golden Eagle more or less. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I have to assume by that time it probably doesn't matter as much. They're probably talking
oh,
about
oh yeah, like the
70s and
70s,
80s.
70s and 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe I have a gem in my collection that I don't even
Yeah,
know about.
I don't know. So that's you always got to check. That's why I look in Overstreet because sometimes they'll be crazy. I mean, even no, I don't know if this is more of a recent thing, but even certain second and third printings are more valuable than the first printing for some comic for some reasons. Not counting variant cover. I'm talking to like an actual second printing.
Yeah.
I spoke before of Superman Batman. I believe the fourth annual has, I think, Batman Beyond that in as well. And for some reason, which I'm not familiar with, please forgive my ignorance, the second printing is more valuable than the first printing. It's just like a different tint on the cover, like it's all red. I don't understand that. Maybe it's more desirable. Maybe it's more rare because they don't make as many of them as the first printing too. I mean, there's a whole mentality there. But if you want to chase that and have the money do it, God bless you. Who am I to judge?
Well, DC was doing, remember they did that with Identity Crisis? They had
Yes,
first printings, second printings, and then they had the red coloring
yes.
printing. And I had all of those, because I love that series. And I wound up selling that on eBay, I think. The red ones, specifically just the red covers.
I just actually before we recorded, I did the new DCBS um, update for February drop, so you can place your DCBS order.
Mhm.
And they had solicited in there the 20th anniversary hardcover edition of Identity Crisis. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 20 years? Oh my God, that was like the hottest thing ever. That had me on my edge of my seat trying to figure out what was going on and
Mhm.
can't wait for the next issue to come out.
I mean, we're hitting right in the middle of 20 years of one of the best times at DC. Probably the last best moment for DC across the board. Certainly they've had um, newsworthy moments like, the first couple months of the New 52 era, regardless of how those came out, were certainly people were abuzz, and
Hmm.
retailers were very happy with the numbers that they were selling, um, and then we've had some thematic reboots after that. But that late 1999 through to the end of 52 was just a freaking stellar time to be a DC fan, and that was 20 years ago. That's all 20 years ago, and like what an amazing. And that was before we started, obviously before we started podcasting, but we were still talking about a lot of that stuff once we hit 2005,
Hmm.
and because we were seeing the payoff with Infinite Crisis and all those miniseries, and so I adore that time at DC. The conventions were fun because Dan DiDio was out
Oh my
there,
God. Dan DiDio and
and
Bob Wayne on stage together was like Laurel and Hardy. It was just a comedy act because Dan would say, "Oh, Bob, can we say this?" And Bob Wayne would go like, thank you for coming to the panel." And it's like, Dan would just spill all this stuff and Bob was like reining him in. It was just great. And there was
wait,
so
what's that one story? It involves you. Didn't you go up and read an issue of something, or was that one of the other guys?
that was actually a Marvel panel.
Oh, that was a Marvel panel. That's right.
That
That's
was
right.
Marvel Now.
Yeah. Okay.
Whole
Okay.
different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But I was at a DC panel, or I'm sorry, in San Diego right after I think the announcement of the new 52 in the summer of 2011, I believe it
Mm-hmm.
was,
Mm-hmm.
when I think I asked the question, I'm paraphrasing here. Well, are you ever gonna go back to how it was? And it's like, oh no, this is there's no changes. We're going for it. It's gonna happen. Boom. And of course, you see how it's happened since then.
Sure.
There are no finite things in comics.
No.
Only Aunt May stays dead, I guess is what's happening right now.
No, she's still alive, isn't she?
She's still alive.
She's alive.
I'm not Aunt May.
You mean
Who am I
Uncle
thinking
Ben?
of? Uncle Ben, yeah.
Not in
Because
the
you,
Ultimate Spider Verse.
you say Bucky was
Yeah.
never gonna come back, but of course he came back.
Not in the Ultimate Universe, though.
Yeah,
Ben
I
Parker's
know, I
back.
know, I know. There's
Yeah.
all kinds. Ah,
Only the Waynes truly stay dead. Um,
you got me on a tangent again. I'm gonna. I know you
wait,
have notes, but I have notes on this.
one more
Oh,
comment though.
okay, okay, okay.
We're talking
Yeah.
about 20 years ago. DC is gearing up for their summer event, and one of their taglines is a story 30 years in the making. And if you go back 2024, 30 years,
1994,
1994, what was
Zero
the
Hour.
0 hour? So that's most people's speculation, but we don't really have any info just yet. They're going to drop it during Free Comic Book Day, whatever the next thing is going to be. And my hope is that everybody keeps saying 0 hour. I actually hope that it's something else that people are forgetting about in that year. Like I don't know. I haven't done the research yet, but I would love it to be something else in that year that's like, oh no, you thought it was going to be that, but it's actually this. But it's probably 0 hour.
I mean, that was the big event, as I recall, of the year.
Yeah, but it was like sort of late in the year, so because all those zero issues happened in, well, the cover date was what, like um that was July. Yeah, July 94 was the series, and it wrapped up in August of 94. And then yeah, that's when the all those zero issues hit. They were just cover dated October. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah, it probably is that, but I would love it to be something else. So, what were you going to say?
Oh, we were talking about the Waynes. So I recently read, and again, I'm far behind in my reading, but I got this at, con for $1. Yeah, I got it at the Baltimore con for $1. All the issues of Gotham City Year One,
Mm.
written by Tom King and drawn by Phil Hester,
Mm-hmm.
which features um, some version of the Waynes in it, but also features Slam Bradley. And oh my God, did I dig that? I actually read it and finished it just before I went to go see Tom King in Baltimore. I talked to him about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, he had a great time writing that." Have you read that?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, Slam Bradley. You don't really even see Batman in the story. It's more or less told from Slam Bradley's point of view, going back to the '60s, and
Yeah.
really good noirish story. There's twists and turns. It's a really, really good read.
Yeah, most of my reading right now is a lot of the Dawn of DC stuff on the app.
Okay.
Um, I'm
For
going through.
instance,
Well, so for another podcast that I participate on, DC All Stars,
wait, what? You doing the podcasts? How dare you?
with
No,
Daryl Taylor and
I know.
Hassan T. Names very familiar to the CBS
Absolutely.
community. Yeah.
They're good people.
Um,
Give them my best.
I will. We did an episode in the middle of the year covering the first 6 months of Dawn of DC.
Mhm.
And now we're gearing up for the second half. And I'm just reading most of it on, I mean, I got the app, I'm reading a ton of comics for 99 bucks a year. That
No,
to me, I think I think when I counted up all the current comics last year, that I read on the app, not even the older ones. I'm only doing like in the last 3 years. I'm counting those cover prices. I read about $500 worth of current comics for 99 bucks. If I would have got it through DCBS, they're 40% off. So it's even more of a deal. So it's just crazy.
plus,
But
you don't have the physical copies in your house.
exactly, exactly.
Now,
So
what is the turnaround time? Are they do you get it right away that it's available, or does it take a while till you see the new issues
right
in the app?
now, ever since December of 2022, they are now on a 1 month release schedule.
Well, that's not too. I mean, one month behind,
1 month
basically
behind. Yep.
behind physical
Yep.
copies.
And I
Okay.
think it went from 6 months to 1 month. And I think
Oh wow.
Marvel is at like 3 months.
Okay.
Um, that's just crazy. Like I said it a couple times. I still get books from DCBS
Hmm.
and they sit unread. And then I'm like, oh, there it is on the app. Could have read it on the app for free, but nope, I need to buy the issues because they're Titans related or Nightwing or
Sure.
whatever. And actually, I usually try to buy most of Tom King's stuff, but like Gotham Year One, I didn't. I was like, I'm gonna read that on the app. The one that I wish I would have picked up physically is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I was like, oh, I'll read it on the app. Nope. That was dumb. Should have kept the issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got it in trade because I
Yeah.
was off the boat, but I
Yeah.
did read that and I did enjoy that.
But yeah, so I'm doing, a total deep dive on all that Dawn of DC stuff. And I have to say it really is if anybody if you've been out of DC since like the new 52,
Uh-huh.
especially, what a great jumping on point for all of these series because everything is fair play. Every bit of continuity, story, not in the sense of like hyper time or anything like that. It's just so for instance, like I just read the first 6 issues of Green Lantern by Jeremy Adams with art by oh, sorry, I'll look it up. But in like the first or second issue, uh in just a silly scene, just like kind of like a throwaway scene, they had the old Demolition Team from the 80s, that was introduced during the Len Wein, Dave Gibbons era, which I loved. And here was the Demolition Team showing up again. And so what I like about it is Hermanico, that's the artist, Hermanico, is that they're just kind of saying this is like the proto version of what you know about these characters. What do you know about Hal Jordan? Well, he's a test pilot. He's his girlfriend is Carol Ferris, right? So he's trying to win her back in his Hal Jordan way. Sinestro is his big bad, right? But yet there's twists on how they present all that stuff, and there's a larger story that is slowly unveiling. Like for instance, the Guardians of the Universe are not in charge of the Lantern Corps right now. The United Planets are in charge of the Green Lantern Corps, and they have
From
sealed.
Legion?
Yeah, well, from Bendis's Superman run, he
Oh,
created a United Planets in the current
in the
century.
current. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it all has to do with like John Kent. It was his idea, and the Legion were involved, along the way. But so they're in charge of the Green Lantern Corps, but they have sealed off the sector that has included Earth. So Hal Jordan is back on Earth, and he's not a Green Lantern in the first issue, and then eventually things happen, you know. But just it's like little things like that. Like, we're going to hit you with a good status quo of what you know. Here are all the pieces you know about Green Lantern, but here are all these other things that we're going to play the long game for. So that's really good. Green Arrow. Did you ever think Green Arrow would be considered the flagship DC book?
It was kind of close to that when Kevin Smith was writing that, I believe, but probably not today. I wouldn't think of that at all. No.
Yeah, I mean, there were other titles during that Kevin Smith run too that were also, you know, like that Superman Batman title was phenomenal. JSA was still going on, probably.
Oh,
You know,
sure, sure,
yeah.
sure.
Um, so this is Green Arrow. It was supposed to start off as a 6-issue series. It got bumped up to 12 issues, and now I think it's just an ongoing. And this is Joshua Williamson, Sean Isaacs, and if you know Joshua Williamson, he is also writing Superman, and he's writing some other ones too. He is basically sort of like the go-to guy at DC right now. You know, in
Oh,
terms
okay.
of like he wrote Dark Crisis. He's probably going to have his hands in. He wrote. He's probably going to write whatever the event is that's coming out. I'm
Would he
assuming.
be like Jeff Johns was back 20 years ago? Is that what you're saying? Sort of,
Sort
kind of
of,
like?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he has the punch that Johns has, you know, in terms of like, you know, when we were reading like Jeff Johns's Flash and Jeff Johns's JSA and Jeff Johns's
Mm,
Teen Titan, like those were just,
Titans, yeah.
yeah, those were amazing series, you know. Um, but this Green Arrow series is, I was reading it like I was like, this should not be this good, and it's cosmic. It's Green Arrow with this like
What?
cosmic thing. Yeah, like the entire Arrow family has been purposely forgotten among themselves, and they have to go and rescue Green Arrow, and then he slowly starts to remember certain things. They start to fix certain DC continuity, like reuniting finally Roy Harper with his daughter after all these many years, Leanne
Wow.
Harper.
That he had with Cheshire?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Big.
I know that.
Mm-hmm. And what I said earlier about whatever story this is coming up about being the 30th anniversary of Zero Hour, there are elements in these issues also that I can see why we're heading in that direction. So, yeah, I was reading it. It turned out to be, for the first 6 months of Dawn of DC, it turned out to be my favorite title of those first six
Wow.
months because it had a
Okay.
lot of DC stuff in it, you know?
Okay.
There's a Tamaranian in it. Come on, I'm going to love that because of Starfire. I love Black Canary. Roy Harper's in it. They're bringing back all these characters, like just really, really great. So I feel like that's what the goal for Dawn of DC is. Get back to basics. Don't worry about, you know, heady continuity. Just stick with consistency, you know. What do people probably most know about certain characters? And many titles are working. I think the Superman title is great. Obviously, Wonder Woman is great. Green Lantern, even Green Lantern War Journal with John Stewart, I enjoyed that. The Shazam series, Mark Waid and Dan Mora, amazing. Um, let me see. Let me pull up what some other titles. And not to say that there aren't some clunkers, because believe me, there still are, but that's par for the
Eh.
course, you know.
What do you think is Batman Superman World's Finest by Mark Waid one of those titles you enjoy?
Absolutely. And that actually, I mean, because that started before the dawn of DC, but I feel
Okay,
like,
right.
well, he's gearing up. Him and Dan Mora, they're leaving Shazam because they have just been offered something that Mark Waid was like, we had to take. So everybody's speculating, is that going to be Justice League? Or are they going to take over or bring back the Justice League? Because Dan Mora as an artist is hot, just completely, just so good. I mean, if you're reading those World's Finest issues, you know. Um,
I have a couple of the initial ones
yeah,
that I got in dollar bins,
right.
but well,
But
that's good here. I'm sort of in the camp that I'm just with many things, not just comics, but in life. I'm just so woefully out of date or out of touch with so many things.
sure.
I'm just not sure I want to jump back into that, especially with just, getting more physical copies in the house. And I'm not keen on digital copies, but I have dipped my toe a bit, of course, into Wonder Woman. I did get the first issue of Shazam. It was good. I think the first five of the Batman World's Finest Superman, and I did enjoy that. Again, it's Mark Waid. It's like, and you do make some good points. I'm just not sure. For me, I want to get back in, but I'm happy to hear that that's taking off with them.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I feel like if you liked Batman Superman World's Finest and you like that Mark Waid formula, you should probably get World's Finest Teen Titans because
I did hear about that also.
yeah,
And when I see it in dollar bins, I will
yeah.
probably pick it up.
Because it has, especially because it has it's a spin on Bronze Age. It's a modern version of Silver and Bronze Age stories, which,
Okay.
it really does fit with a lot of those older Teen Titans comics. Um, Let me just look at, I think what the formula was, I think Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, because they had such a big success on Nightwing, that's why this Dawn of DC flavor makes sense because
Hmm.
that was such a popular book. I love Rom V on Detective Comics. I like it better than the Batman comic. That's really good. Um, the Justice Society of America stuff is great if it just would come out on in any given time. And now he's going to be leaving. Johns is going to be leaving the book.
I did hear that. Yes.
Yeah. And there's some other ones. There's some other things that are pretty good. Titans is fairly decent. Unstoppable Doom Patrol is so good. Chris Burnham on the artwork, and
Really?
yes,
How did I not know that?
so good.
Oh,
Let me get you the writer because it's a writer that Dennis Culver. I'm not familiar. This is the
nor
first
am
time I
I.
read it. Yeah, really good, and it has elements of like all the Doom Patrol eras that people might know, but yet you don't need to know any of it. You just read it, and it is really clever and really fun. And Chris Burnham's artwork is
Oh,
just
yes.
just amazing. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's like really where a lot of my reading is coming into these days. Unless I sell some stuff and then I try to read like physical copy. I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I have had. Let me. What did I read recently that I've had in my collection for years, if not decades?
Okay.
Day Tripper. Finally read that.
Oh, that's I think it's on my list of things to read.
Yeah, very great series. You can
Gabriel Moon, and is that right?
Gabriel Ba,
Fabio
Fabio
Ba?
Moon, Fabio Moon, yeah. Fabio Moon. I forget. Are we confusing the brothers?
I think we are. Terrible. If only we had a computer in front of us to find out the actual
I do.
creators.
Yeah, it's Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Um, I've read these before, but I just recently reread them. The Green Lantern Emerald Dawn miniseries from the early '90s. Speaking of
First one and second one?
first one and second one. Speaking of Keith Giffen and because he took over the co-plotting of that. A little known weird, when DC was doing all their prestige format stuff in
Hmm.
the 80s. Jim Starlin did a 4-issue series called Gilgamesh 2.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
There's a really great ad that shows like this sphere. It's like a pod, like an escape pod, and a door is open. And it says something like they were trying to, I don't know, repopulate or trying to escape tragedy, or they were trying to repopulate the earth, something like that. But they sent the wrong pod and they sent the wrong person or some ad like that, DC ad. Really great DC ad. So I had these issues for a while. I bought them in the back issue bins. It's basically a retelling of the Gilgamesh legend. Jim Starlin puts it in a future setting. It's it's a fun read. It's not. It doesn't quite live up to like when Prestige format was like the Longbow Hunters and Dark Knight Returns and
Right.
Hawkworld. It doesn't live up to that, but I quite enjoyed it as I read it. I was like, oh, I actually really enjoyed a Jim Starlin book that had nothing to do with fucking Thanos and Adam Warlock and whatever else. So that was good. Um, and then what was the other thing I read? Oh, just a 4 issue Crimson Avenger miniseries by, speaking of Roy Thomas and Dan Thomas from the late 80s. Very wordy. Very
No,
wordy.
I find it hard to believe.
Ooh, Roy Thomas. So yeah, so that's some of my current reading these days.
My current reading is mostly past reading. I don't keep up too much. Well, again, I do dabble in the currently I like saying I'm getting Animal Pond. Is that Animal Pound?
Animal Pound. Yeah.
Animal Pound. I forgot the U. On a couple of things. One of the things I'll just speak on this briefly. Have you ever read From Hell?
So Mr. Phil always yells at me. I cannot get past chapter 4 when they're touring London and
Oh
he's
my God.
talking. I have yet to get past that issue. I've gone through it maybe
Oh,
twice or
okay.
3 times. That is
Well, then
a
I'm glad I
dense
brought this
issue.
up. If I may, a couple of quick
Yeah,
things. So I
yeah, yeah.
reread it recently. I wish I could give the publishing history on the issues, but it's really convoluted.
Sure.
But the top shelf trade, more of like, my God, a books, I don't know, doorstop is what you want to get because it has an appendix in the back. But a couple quick interesting things. In the front flap, there's this quote, which I guess has to come from top shelf. And this is what you would think about this. It says, talking, of course, about From Hell, widely regarded as the most significant graphic novel ever published, From Hell combines meticulous research with educated speculation, resulting in a masterpiece of historical fiction, both compelling and terrifying. But wait a minute, widely regarded as the most significant graphic novel ever published? Really? I mean, it's very good. But that's high. That's a high bar to set there. But I mean, it's Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. But so I thought you'd be interested in that. But of course, the whole thing's based on Jack the Ripper
Hmm.
and some educated guessing and some interesting stories. It's all based around the 9 panel grid. I don't know if you even with the first 3 chapters you got. But talking of the appendix, there's a bit here in chapter about issue 4 that I want to read to you. It's just a paragraph.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy this. Please bear with me and well as my reading. This is from the appendix. While on the subject of incidental visual background reference, I should like to take this opportunity to point out that From Hell has, if anything, been more thoroughly researched visually than it has in terms of content. Eddie's backgrounds are, more often than not, precisely referenced shots of the areas mentioned in the text. While in this current chapter, he has relied largely on the series of reference photos that I conveyed to him after my own jaunt around London, in other instances, he has managed to unearth stunningly obscure visual reference of his own. The Marylebone workhouse interior, depicted in chapter 1, for example, is not just an authentic workhouse interior of that period. It is the actual interior of the Marylebone workhouse itself. right down to the depressingly unhelpful legend, God is good, God is holy, God is just, carved into the crossbeams that support the high, dark ceiling. And this is the best part. Suffice it to say that any adequate appendix listing Eddie's sources in the way that I am listing mine would be twice as long as this current monstrosity, which in itself looks set to end up twice as long as the work to which it refers. I thought that was funny because this is a hefty tome. This
Yeah.
is like 300. Well, I came in. There's no page numbers. It's a big, big thing, but I don't know. I think you might enjoy getting past chapter 4, Peter.
Oh, I know. Like I said, I know I would. It's one of Mr. Phil's favorite reads, and it's you can go and watch the movie and sort of get the
Ugh.
very
Oh, Heather
basic
Granville.
plot. Yeah, but it's just one of those books that I tried. I actually looked it up on the site. I thought we talked about it on. I thought it was a book of the month, but it's not
It
coming
was
out.
a book of the month for Matt in episode 666
Oh, right. Okay.
when he goes next up from hell,
Right.
where it was the alternate universe.
Got it. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. So, yeah, it's just one of those. I mean, like you, I love going back. It's one thing I love about the app is I can go back to some older series that I don't have in my collection at
Sure.
all, or anymore, and they're there. And um, you can do, you can make lists on the app, so like other people can look at a list on the app. So I put on there my first issues. So like my first issue of say like my first issue of Justice League of America was 210.
Okay.
So I could tag that. If it's as long as it's on the app, I can
Right.
tag it.
Right.
My first issue of New Teen Titans was issue 28. My first issue of Legion of Superheroes was 304. So I just did like a whole list of like, if you want to know what got me into Flash or Green Lantern or whatever, here it is. As long as it's on the app, here it is. So that's kind of fun too, because then I can just go to that list and
Sure.
look at everything. But yeah, I'm like you. I love going back to read stuff that I haven't ever read before. There's decades of DC content that I am just woefully not familiar with.
Well, not just that, it's that I forget a lot of, well, more times than not what I've read. It's almost not quite, but like reading again for the first time. Some
Sure.
of these things, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We're getting old, we forget things.
Did we go through your topics?
I think, I mean, I have just one quick shout out to Dr. Eamon Clark
Mm-hmm.
from over in the UK, because usually every year he sends a like care package to the guys for Christmas. And I was actually in the studio recently, and what he sent me was a collection of stamps from the UK featuring Paul McCartney album covers of his solo career, which is nice. We've got McCartney, there's Ram, Venus and Mars, McCartney 2, Tug of War, Flaming Pie, Egypt Station, and McCartney 3. So I just wanted to say thank you, Eamon. I did get that, and I always appreciate your thinking of me and us around the holidays. It's very kind of you, sir.
Very cool. How are you doing on your TV watching? Are you keeping up on that?
Oh yeah, I'm plugging along. I'm let's see what I got going on. I'm still stuck in the 50s with my 1957 rewatch of several shows. I'm almost at the end of Dark Shadows. This, I've been watching an episode of that a day as best as I could because it's only like 21, 22 minutes for the better part of 3 years, and I'm right towards the end, and it's limping along to the finish line. Let's just say. Um, but yeah, I'm trying. I don't really have anything but I am running down. I'm actually almost at the very end of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, good.
I've
Cool.
I've got, I think, four more episodes to watch, and I'm watching that back to back with as it aired episodes of Deep Space Nine
Yep.
because they pretty much aired back to back on the same nights. So as I'm going through my Trek watch, once I finish the next gen, I'll keep going with Deep Space Nine. I think I'll get the Star Trek Generations movie in the fall of '94, and eventually I'll pick up
Voyager.
Voyager, which I've never watched Voyager, so I'll go on with that. Um, I was talking to Shane recently. I was like, when I got to this part of season 7 of Next Gen, it's like Troy and Worf. What the hell was that all about? I said to him, and he's like, "Yeah,
How many episodes are you into 7?
I've the last episode that I watched, which apparently doing a little bit of just reading on there, it was like one of the worst episodes they said ever,
Oh, with
was
Beverly.
Bloodlines,
Oh,
where Picard is tricked into thinking he has a son from a relationship a while ago, and a
okay.
Ferengi is trying to kill his son because Picard killed his Ferengi son.
I thought you were going
And
to say the Beverly one where she makes love to a ghost.
well, that was also, let's see,
That was terrible.
that was also earlier. I'm not sure what episode that is called, but I see that in here. I don't know, but I did watch that. That was earlier in the
Yeah.
series, in the season.
I'm
But yeah,
I'm on I'm on record with a very controversial thought that you know how like some people are like, "Oh, Star Trek next." I don't know if you've heard this, but they say Next Generation. They're like the first season, just skip it. It's not that good. Just skip the first season. And then there's some people who don't like the second season because it has Dr. Pulaski
correct,
versus
right.
Crusher.
And it was a short season because of the strike, I believe.
Yeah. And I also am in a Star Trek rewatch that has been going on for way too long. And
Yeah.
I'm on Deep Space 4 and Voyager 2. Voyager season 2 and Deep Space 9
Okay.
season
So
4.
yeah, I'm in Deep Space Nine 2, so I'm like 2 years behind you then.
Yeah. And because really I didn't really watch the original series. My Star Trek was Next Generation.
Okay.
And I may have seen a few episodes, but that's really why I wanted to do it. And then once I did that, I was like, well, then of course I got to go watch the animated series, and I just kept going and going
Yeah,
and
yeah,
going.
that's what I did. Yeah,
Yeah, but I found a new appreciation for certain elements of Next Generation that people don't like, and I do not subscribe to the fact that season 1 is the worst season. I think season 7 is terrible for this reason.
okay.
It's the 7th season. It should not be that bad by the 7th season. You can sort of forgive like dips in like, like 3 and 4 are fantastic seasons, and then it starts to level off. And I know people are like, yeah, but that's because everybody left to do the movies and blah, blah. I'm sorry. Season 1, you can forgive that episodes are because they're finding their feet. They're trying to find out what it is.
Right. Right.
By season 7, those actors should have been like, I am not doing this. Like there's no reason season 7 should be that bad. There's some really great episodes
Uh-huh.
and some really junky episodes.
Yeah, I'm
So,
finding that out myself. Yes.
yep, people will argue and they argue. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I actually like Pulaski. I actually like those episodes. I thought she was an interesting character, especially seeing it now later, years later, now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, we just didn't like her because she wasn't hot Beverly Crusher. That's why we didn't like Dr. Pulaski. But I actually liked the bite that she had. There were some interesting conversations we got out of her. But yeah, so interesting journey to whenever you do like a Star Trek rewatch. That's an interesting journey.
Wait, this is a combination. Well, actually, it's more of a first watch. I did watch some early Deep Space Nine, but very little Next Gen. So most of what I'm watching is like brand new to me. Like I said, I
Oh,
never
cool.
watched Voyager, never watched Enterprise, never watched. Help me out. What's after that? Is there anything else after that?
Discovery, I guess.
Discovery, and
Yeah.
so I mean, I did watch season 3 of Picard, but so yeah, I'm plugging along with that. It's
Cool.
interesting.
That's fun.
Another quick discovery in my old episodes that I've been watching. Watching Mission Impossible, the original series. I'm in the middle of season 5, and there's an actor on there where it's like, he sounds kind of familiar. Do you know the actor Sam Elliott,
Sure.
who's got that great voice and
Yeah.
that great
Uh-huh.
mustache? He's been in a couple of these episodes from like 1970, 71. No mustache, almost unrecognizable. It's like, holy cow, I had no idea he was on Mission Impossible.
Wow.
And at the same time, Leonard Nimoy is on Mission Impossible as Paris. I had forgotten that. He went right from Star Trek into Mission Impossible right after Star Trek ended, just like
Wow.
that. And it's kind of odd seeing him in some of these episodes as well. But so I mean, I love going back and watching that kind of stuff. But there's a couple of shows that I'm watching, Star Trek included, where I'm coming down towards close to the end of that, and I'm going to have to think, what am I going to put in the queue next? So I have a couple of things to put in the queue next.
Yeah. I
But yeah,
mean,
so yeah, I'm still plugging off my TV watching. What else am I going to do? Go out and live a life?
it's a good thing you're not watching soap operas. My God, you'd never be done.
Well, again, depending what soap operas you go to, some of the early ones just don't exist. It's quite a break that all but one episode of Dark Shadow still exists.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of those just didn't survive. But no,
Yeah.
I've never really into soap operas, daytime soaps per se.
Right. Right. I mean, Dark Shadows was basically a soap opera. So
Well, yeah, it was during the daytime.
yeah. Yeah. Cool.
I'm sorry, did I go step on any of your toes for any of your topics? I didn't mean to just
No,
migrate over my stuff.
no, we're just yapping.
Oh
That's
yeah, that's cool. That's what I like about this because we discussed. I was trying to think. I don't know how it came up, but years ago, might have been on the podcast, might have been during the break, where I think Brian said, or maybe it was you said something along the lines of like, if we ever stop doing the show, we don't just like get together once a month and just chat about stuff. So that's
right.
kind of what I like doing this. So it's like because I don't keep on all the new stuff, so you're not going to learn too much about if you're looking for new stuff. Well, no, you did a great job on Dawn of the DC stuff. I like that,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Uh,
just to yap about some old stuff.
that was Brian's intention when he was like, let's just record an episode. How many years ago was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2 or 3 summers ago. He was like, let's not worry about schedule. Let's not worry about
Yeah.
homework. Let's just do it. Every now and then we'll read a current
Sure.
comic, and that was fun. To talk about current stuff, and we might have later in February we might be recording another one, and we're trying to decide on like one current comic to talk about, but we'll figure out what that is. So just loosey goosey,
Mhm.
just whatever it is. We used to do episodes like that in the early days.
Oh,
We
sure.
weren't always so produced. So, all right. I think that's good. Yes.
Yep, yep. Oh, and I, of course, when I went to the studio to get those stamps from Eamon, I got this for you, as I mentioned.
Oh, cool. Yes. Nice. Nice. Yes.
I'm
I
holding
will.
up the Walmart copy of Crisis on Infinite Earths, 100-page giant, issue number 2, The Multiverse's Last Stand.
Yeah. Just to add to my collection, even though I have the other version of it.
Oh, sure.
Gotta have them all. It's Crisis. I don't know where in the schedule, listeners, if you're listening to this, Adam and I did record another Crisis tapes. It might
Thank
be released by now.
God.
I don't know. And it's on issue 7. It is our usual 3-hour length, and we got maybe 6 pages in.
Oh my God. How long did you spend on the cover?
A lot. But we
Well, no,
also
I mean that's good. That's what the people want.
that's
But
what
like everybody else, we're getting older. We don't want to die before you finish the still 12 issues. Come on, man.
we did a few like news things, and then we did the cover.
New schmooze. Talk about the issue.
We talked about some of the homage covers that came later, just
Yeah, yeah,
because.
because you have to with issue 7, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. Like I'm fairly certain. Do you know what artist was the first one to actually do an homage of Crisis number 7?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna say I mean, I have a Mighty Mouse cover, but that's probably too far away from that.
It is Mighty Mouse. It is Mr. Perez himself is the first one who actually,
Oh, so
if
wow.
my notes are correct, it's that Mighty Mouse cover from Star Comics. I mean, that whole series was sort of like a spoof
Oh,
of,
sure.
Dark Knight Returns, and Ernie Colon did the cover to that one, and then issue 3 was kind of like it was John Byrne spoofing Namor, and then issue 4 was Mises on Infinite Earths, and the cover was by Mr. George Perez from
Wow, I can't
November
believe
1990.
I guessed that. Yeah, I thought that was well, I guess it was kind of close. Well, no, wait, that was 86 that's 4 years.
85, yeah.
Well, 85, right. God
Yeah.
darn.
So there might have been
Something
maybe in
something in the
between,
middle.
but I don't think. I really do. And if it's not a cover, maybe they did it on the interiors, but yeah, it's Perez himself. How funny is that? And then from there,
Wow.
people just go wild.
Well, sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a good conversation. Even digging through the cover, it was fun because we got to talk about certain things, and there's certain characters that are hard to see, or like on the edge that get cut off a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, we make some good points about the cover. So of course it's got
As I figured, as I knew you would.
and then when we were recording, I was like, oh my God, we are not going to get any, and 7 is a double size issue too.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's right.
So it's like,
Oh my God, 4 episodes on one issue.
it might be. And
At the
then,
rate you're going,
I'm sorry, we only got 5 pages. I'm sorry,
5 pages.
We stopped at page 5.
Stopped at page 5. Oh my God.
Oh,
What's
I
it
love
gonna
it.
take to get you guys to complete this thing? I mean,
I don't know. Well, our hope is to keep going. Like, our hope is to,
well, sure. I mean,
try to
you got it. You
finish.
can't stop now.
No, I don't mean in that time. Like, our goal is to try to finish issue 7 this year. Like, do all.
Well, I mean, it's only
as much as
February. You
we
better
can.
finish it by this the end of the year. I'll come and throw you a beating.
You know how Adam is. He's he's
I do
working,
know how
and
Adam is.
he's got a he's But once
But
the
it's
episode,
good. But it's all
Yeah.
good. I kid, but I kid with the love.
Yeah. Once we get it released, then we can put the next episode in schedule, like whenever you're going to record the next one, and then we'll put that out, and then we'll record the next one, and hopefully we don't get to the summer when he gets too busy. But yeah, we say that we don't want to be. It's already how many years old? I think it's like 14 years.
I don't know how old is it.
It's been like 14 years. Yeah.
Wow.
The first one was, I mean, all of our, actually, like, I think we're coming up on like a Footnotes anniversary too, just recently. Like, I think that's like 17 years.
Oh boy.
December 6th, 2009 was the first Crisis Tapes.
Oh my God. Over 14 years. And
Yeah.
you're only halfway through the book, through the series.
I mean, to be fair, we did a lot of.
To be fair. So let's do some math. So in the year 2037 or 2038, issue 12 is over. Let's do the index. Let's do History of the DC Universe. I don't know.
I mean, we did a lot of episodes leading up to it that had nothing to do with the issues.
Right, you did the Monitor tapes.
We're thorough, man.
Yeah, I give you that, and that's what the people love. But we're not getting any younger.
Hey,
but the nice thing is that Crisis is still relevant.
We uncovered, yeah, right. Like, my God, they're doing the animated series right now.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, we have to talk about that then.
Yeah, we're gonna have to throw that in. We uncovered a pre-crisis Monitor appearance that is not in any of the collections.
Yes, I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
That to me is like, we should get the Eisner for that, because DC is like,
I'll give you a no prize. No, that's the wrong company.
How DC has not managed to include that is just, and it's like, I even look on all the annotation sites, and they just don't reference it. And
you mentioned that, yeah.
Is scandalous.
Yep, and it's I have, besides my love of 52 for artwork, I also have a other niche of art collecting where I collect pages from Crisis crossover issues. I've got
Mm,
several pages from Crisis crossover issues, like some issues of Infinity Inc. I've got a great homage to the satellite scene as seen in All-Star Squadron.
mm,
I've got some pages of the Psycho Pirate and Firestorm fighting in issue 41 of that title. Um, but I actually saw for sale, but was too late to get it, a pre-Crisis Monitor appearance original art page.
mm.
I was like, oh, and it was just too late. So, and it was priced too. So, so I'm sort of glad I missed out on it.
You were the one who sent me those Firestorm pages, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a bunch of them. Even have some from issue 42 featuring Donna Troy.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said, it keeps coming back. So,
Hmm.
you know, our podcast will be relevant.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just, come on. Can you just do maybe once every 2 months? I mean,
Oh, we're trying. We're
we don't
trying.
ask for much.
I
We
guess
ask all
I
we
would
ask is
record all year if I could.
all we ask is for you to give your time for us to be entertained for free. It's all we ask.
You're right. Exactly.
It's not too much. Again, with the love.
All right. Say goodbye.
Also, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. This is probably already come out. Happy President's Day. What else is coming out? I don't know. Stuff. By the time this episode comes out.
Right. Well, that's why it was a two-person one. We're coupling for Valentine's Day.
No. That's not what's happening at all.
All right, let's go.
Where are we going? King, Art, Dawn, Trek, 52. King, Art, Dawn, Trek, 52. King, Art, Dawn, Trek, 52. 52. 52. 52. What is going on with my voice here? 52.